A fighter jet does not fail at an air show by accident. It fails because, years earlier, dozens of invisible decisions quietly went wrong. Last night, an Indian fighter crashed in front of a global audience. Cameras caught the moment. Social media erupted within minutes. But the crash itself isn't the story. The real story is what this failure exposes about how modern combat aircraft are built, sustained, and trusted. And, why some air forces can recover from losses, while others see every accident ripple outward into strategy, politics, and deterrence. This isn't just about one aircraft, it's about systems. And systems fail long before metal hits the ground. In wartime, aircraft are expected to be lost. That's understood. Losses are absorbed, analyzed, and often hidden. But an air show crash is different. Air shows exist to project confidence. They are curated demonstrations of reliability, control, and national competence. When a fighter fails in that environment, it sends a signal, not just to adversaries, but to allies, buyers, and pilots still flying the platform, because the question immediately becomes uncomfortable. If this can happen during a scripted demonstration, what happens during combat stress, bad weather, or extended operations? And that question doesn't stay confined to one aircraft type. It spreads to training pipelines, maintenance standards, and procurement decisions. This is why some countries treat public aviation accidents as strategic events, not public relations problems. There's a common misconception about indigenous fighter programs. People imagine a single factory, a single company, a clean national supply chain. That's not how modern combat aircraft work. A modern fighter is honestly an ecosystem. Engines from one country, avionics from another, radar modules from a third, software layers written across continents, maintenance procedures dependent on foreign vendors and licensing. Even countries with strong industrial bases rely on global inputs. The difference is control. Nations with mature aerospace ecosystems can substitute suppliers, redesign components domestically, and sustain fleets without foreign political approval. Nations without that depth remain vulnerable, not just to sanctions, but to delays, quality gaps, and cascading failures. And when any one link weakens, the entire aircraft inherits that weakness. One of the least discussed indicators of aerospace competence is time. Not speed, but consistency. A fighter program that stretches across decades without stable production tells you something important. Requirements are shifting, industrial learning curves are shallow, and integration problems keep reappearing. Long development timelines aren't just expensive, they erode institutional memory. Engineers retire, suppliers change, early design assumptions become obsolete. Meanwhile, other countries move forward, not because they're flawless, but because iteration compounds. This is why air power gaps rarely close suddenly. They widen slowly, then appear obvious all at once. Every Air Force experiences accidents. That's a fact. What matters is not whether accidents happen, but, how often, under what conditions, and how openly they're addressed. High accident rates create a quiet crisis. Pilots lose trust in the machine, training hours get reduced, commanders become risk-averse. Readiness statistics might look acceptable on paper, but honestly, they're hollow in reality. And once pilot confidence erodes, no software patch can fix it. Air combat really depends on trust. In the aircraft, the maintenance crew, and the system behind both. Without that trust, even advanced platforms become liabilities. Military comparisons often, devolve into scorekeeping. How many jets? Which generation? Which radar? But honestly, that kind of misses the point. What really matters is trajectory. Some air forces are expanding production lines, improving reliability, and shortening maintenance cycles. Others, meanwhile, are struggling just to stabilize existing fleets. Some countries are fielding carrier-capable fighters alongside electromagnetic launch systems. Others are still trying to, well, secure engine deliveries. Trajectory tells you where power will be, not where it was. And trajectory is driven by industrial depth, not political messaging. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Aviation safety doesn't fail at altitude. It fails in supply chains, quality control, vendor accountability, engineering culture, feedback loops between failure and redesign. When these weaken, accidents don't really look dramatic at first. They look random, until suddenly they don't. This is why aerospace powers obsess over manufacturing discipline. Not slogans, not press releases. Discipline. This single crash doesn't decide any future conflict, but it does shape perceptions. Perceptions influence deterrence calculations, export viability, alliance confidence, and even pilot recruitment and retention. Air power is as much psychological as it is physical. When confidence slips, rivals take notice, even if they say nothing publicly. And in regions where air superiority defines escalation control, that silence really does matter. This was not just an aircraft failure, it was a systems warning. Modern air power isn't about announcing capability. It's about sustaining it quietly, reliably, and repeatedly. Countries that build deep industrial foundations can absorb crashes without losing credibility. Countries that don't see every accident echo far beyond the runway. The lesson isn't about pride, it's about patience, engineering discipline, and institutional honesty. Because in aviation, the moment the world sees the failure is never the moment it actually began.